So the big story hitting Nigeria's market street today is the suspension of Munir Guazo as the head of the Securities and Exchange Commission alongside the head of the legal unit and the head of the media. This is the first time we have such a sweeping suspension or leadership change at the SEC, which will include the head of legal and the head of the media. The Finance Ministry says they've been asked to step out of office to make it easy to conduct an administrative panel of inquiry into allegations of financial impropriety. Munir Guazo becomes the second Securities and Exchange Commission chief accused and suspended on allegations of financial impropriety. The first person was Aruma Ote. She was suspended by the board of the Securities and Exchange Commission back then, as you have heard on the report of an administrative inquiry on the Project 50 event program that was held, and of course some of the issues relating to the House of Representatives investigations into market infractions that occurred 2008, just before she resumed office after Desi Ekine superintended the SEC for a few months. But Musa Al-Faki was the man who was the head of the Securities and Exchange Commission between 2004 and 2009, when the market boomed and bust. Now we have the Securities and Exchange Commission has been operating for about 2 years without a board. And that's after the Suleiman Ndanusa's board of directors team was removed by the current administration. So what's the SEC? What does the law SEC Act says? The Act says that the SEC ought to have a board. The board is expected to formulate policies, approves the audited and management accounts, approves the annual budget of the commission, and just take care of a few other things that needs to be done. So the SEC has had no board for 2 years, and Munir Guazo has been operated as the head of the SEC without a board. Of course, this is not only the SEC, quite a number of key government institutions have been operating without a board under the current administration, and that's one key issue hanging out there. Today is very big news for everyone who is watching the oil market. Nigeria's Deputy Oil Minister Ibeka Chikwu has been talking about what to expect, what Nigeria should expect from today's final meeting in Vienna, where the OPEC chiefs are meeting, and of course they got the big boy from Russia sitting in on that meeting. They've had a joint ministerial meeting yesterday before the general meeting today, and it has been decided that the cutback among OPEC members and Russia will be extended by another 9 months. The deadline for the first deal will expire March next year, so they got another 9 months. So we're looking technically at till 2018, end of year, just about this time next year. So just hang around. We have 12 months ride. Let's ride this a few minutes of conversation with Ada Akonobi, who is one of the research analysts at Financial Derivatives, to take us through what's in this meeting for Nigeria and what to look at for in our 2018 budget. Good morning. Good morning. Let's take this ride together, shall we?
Yes.
A very interesting time for the oil market. And Nigeria needs this money. We need this production. We need the price at a very good level. But it looks like the news is that we're going to likely be pegged around 1.8.
Yes, of course. The oil members and Russia will meet today to deliberate on, the recent developments in the oil market. And the general market consensus is that they may extend the output cut beyond March 2018, which was the initial deadline that they set. So towards the end of 2018, as you rightfully mentioned. But then, if you look at Nigeria's production so far, it seems like we've been somewhat maintaining the cap that has been put for us. So our production is about 1.75 million barrels per day. So we are still, kind of playing safe at the cap. However, I know everyone is, concerned. The 2018 budget, we put our, budget assumption at 2.3 million barrels per day. So is that realistic? The minister, the Deputy Ibeka Chikwu, actually said that next year that Nigeria's production is likely to increase. So we're not sure how that's going to play out. But for now, we still have to, play safe at 1.8 million barrels per day.
At the current levels, Nigeria is doing, quote unquote, nicely.
Yes.
Yes, because we're supported by price, we're supported by the cutback, we're supported by a bit of demand from India, China, and a few other emerging countries whose manufacturing industrial engine is piping really hot, including Europe a little bit, including the US. But again, if we're going to cap at 1.8, we have gas in that projection of 2.3. Which the President spoke about at the Budget 2018 draft presentation to the National Assembly.
Yeah.
So 1.8, if that is all crude at 60, 63, 62 dollars a barrel, gas also coming in there, isn't it? So technically it will be above 1.8.
Well, we have to, stay at the cap OPEC has given us, which is 1.8. So, are we going to go above 1.8? It's likely, but for now we are still maintaining the production quota given to us by OPEC. And if you look at other players where there's been about 104% compliance amongst every other person. So, actually, coming back to Nigeria, the petroleum minister has said that production at 1.8, oil price at average of 60 is pretty good for us. So even if oil price go up, even if our production go up, we're still in a good place.
So we just go to today's meeting and sit back and watch everybody else slug things out. But again, if you look at the demand, supply, price matrix,
yes,
globally speaking, there are warnings, some gentle forecasts that if we see a bit of a slowdown in global economy moving forward, 1.8 million barrels for Nigeria may be a very tough push. Because everybody's looking for cheap oil and looking for new customers. Everybody's running around the oceans, and the capital is looking for who to have a handshake with to make sure that you stay on top of the entire oil conversation. So if we put our 1.8 million barrels on the market, and you folks, your team, the U.S. crude supplies also climbed 1.8 million barrels per day according to the API. Where does that put United States in the room as a big elephant or the bull in the China shop, which may also spoil the party at some point in 2018?
So definitely there are concerns, So you have the OPEC and you have U.S. shale. But then U.S. shale, they have their agenda. So if our prices go up, typically they're going to have to come back.
What is the U.S. agenda, really? I'm trying to find out what does the United States want.